All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. I am your host, Mike, and I believe we're on episode 21 now, which is pretty damn cool. So welcome to the show. Anybody new tuning in, thank you. So tonight we're going to be breaking down UFC Vegas 57, and it's a special night because we got our very first guest ever, my boy Lou Besha, my co-host at the Bet Elevator. Lou, what's up, man? How are you?
Good. It's weird that I'm ready this early in the week, but got all my tape study done Sunday after a nice relaxing weekend, and I think there's some spots I really like on this card. I know a lot of these lines are wide, but I like some props that are sticking out when they officially get dropped on my books, but some good spots there, I think.
Yeah, so if any of you guys have watched the Bet Elevator yet, you guys know the crazy props will be coming later this week. Tonight, me and Lou are going to try to just break it down. If I have a read, I'll bring it up. We'll see what happens. But tonight's a bit more focused on the actual breakdowns. And yeah, so I'm going to recap last week real quick, and then Lou will tell you guys how he did. I was there live, so, you know, it's all right. But I took a bit of an L. I think I was like down, I'll tell you guys. I want to say down 6 units, about 7, I want to say. Yeah, 6 units. Our big savior was Kevin Holland by sub. I didn't even know that he called the submission until later. I might have gone heavier, but it's probably good I didn't. A few spots that sucked. Court McGee got knocked out in like 30 seconds. That was unfortunate and didn't really expect that one. Guram, you know, I felt he won, but I'm a bit biased. I also, Lou, I didn't tell you about this either. I got to see Guram in In-N-Out Burger in Austin after the fights. Me and my girlfriend, we didn't know where to eat, so we went to In-N-Out Burger, and we just see Guram chilling on the side, like in the booth, and like he's got his hood up, he's all beat up, he doesn't want anyone to see him clearly. So my girlfriend's like, "You want to get a picture? You want to get a picture?" I was like, "No, I feel bad.
Leave him alone."
So I left him alone, yeah. And then when he was leaving, like she's Georgian also, so she like told him something. Something good. I forget. I don't know the translation. And I think he thought that she was like some American girl who was like memorizing Georgian. He's like, thank you. And he just left it. But yeah, I felt he won, but you know, I'm biased. And then Calvin Kattar, that swung my night as well. Had he won, we'd be okay. But it happens on rewatch. I feel like it was closer than I thought, but that was my night. How about you, Lou?
I mean, I got all the time props hit for me. The bad, I will say, because I didn't watch this live, so I had not posted like my full stuff. But the ones I had exposure to the most was Court McGee didn't go my way. I was big on Phil Hawes in the under, so that was good. I had Dawkins in some parlays, so that was obviously not so great. And I had the prop on Tony Collins split decision, which I was happy to lose for how it went down. But
that was so much fun in like in person to watch that go down.
Bet. I had the Marquez Rodriguez fight doesn't go, so that was good. I had Demir in a small play, and I had the Buckley under and Holland KO. So it's all right. Like I broke even. I think I was like I'm officially was up 0.06 units. I mean, like seriously, pocket change. But 5 weeks in a row of not losing. 3
green
weeks
is green.
2 weeks of break evens. 2 very profitable weeks, and then 1 like wow. So this is coming off of like 5 bad weeks I had before that. So moving in the right direction. I think we're gonna go 6 for 6 this week, and let's see how much we agree on. Right? If nobody's seen our shows, we typically do not agree on picks.
Nah, me and Lou almost never agree. We kind of went over it before this. We might agree a bit more than usual, but that's really not saying much. So without further ado, what do you say, Lou? Let's break down these fights.
Let's go.
All right, so first up, we've got Jinh Frey versus Vanessa Demopoulos. Frey is 11-6-0, 37 years old, so she's a bit on the older side here. 5'3" with a 65-inch reach, and she is training out of Fortis MMA. I think still, I couldn't get confirmation off of her Instagram. I know that she also trains with like her husband in their own gym, so I'm not positive about that one. And then Vanessa Demopoulos is 7-4-0. 33 years old, 5'2" with the 62-inch reach, and she's currently training out of Fight Ready over in Arizona. So she's at a good camp. And this is the first time in a minute that Jinh Frey is actually not the smaller woman. She's actually the taller woman here, which is crazy. But Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Lou. I don't see a path to victory for Vanessa here. Normally, if I'm going to target a dog, especially with this kind of plus money, I'm looking for a path of victory, and I'm just not seeing it. Jinh Frey is a wrestle-heavy fighter. She's not some world beater. I think her striking is decent. I think that she's able to stay safe. She puts together a pretty decent output. She mixes the targets well. She'll put together good combinations. She's good in the clinch, good in the pocket. I have some concerns with her getting hit, but I don't really think that's a big deal here, considering Vanessa's got a 62-inch reach and has a very hard time covering the distance. I have noticed that Vanessa's very hittable when she is trying to close that gap. And yeah, what I kind of see happening here is Frey getting the takedowns and Vanessa just going for arm bars. All of her subs, she got what, 4 sub wins, I believe. 4, and all of them are off of her back. It's like 3 arm bars and 1 reverse triangle. So I kind of expect Frey to just hold her down and win a boring decision here. And that's the side I'm on. How about you, Lou?
I mean, she did lose to Kay Hansen via an arm bar, but
that's always live.
Outliers do happen. I really wanted to take Demopoulos here just because in what I consider low-level fights, I want to be like dog money here. The problem is with Demopoulos. So I know Demopoulos is full-time now. She's training full-time now, finally. But you have to make a lot of assumptions about how much better she's getting being a full-time fighter. The thing is I mean, I can't make a bet on her assuming that she's improved in like 3 or 4 different areas of her game. Whereas I think, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think, unfortunately, Frey is just going to bully her. The decision prop is almost even money, which is shocking to me with what her line is. Her decision prop is crazy. Frey hasn't gotten, I mean, I don't know when her last finish was, but it appears her last finish win was 2014.
She's got only 1 KO and 2 subs.
Right. And this is early in her career against, people that are 0-2, 1-4. So like she's decision or bust. So the only ways to play this fight is I do see people playing Demopoulos like scorecards, no action, which
I like that.
I understand it, but you're just getting a push because I just think Frey is I just think Frey is going to all right. I think Frey is just gonna
Alexa go off just now.
I don't know who the hell it was. I think Frey is just it's gonna be a very boring fight to start your night. I don't know that I'm gonna get a bet here, but the pick is Frey by decision on my end.
Yeah, I'm on the same side. What did you say it was at right now? Like even money?
About -105. And look, if I'm not gonna lie, if Demopoulos money comes in and people start playing that sub prop, like her sub prop, I think is 6-1, which I think is it like you look at it and it initially seems like a really good number, and then I'm like, it's literally her only win condition here because I don't see her winning a decision. The only thing I worry,
but
the only thing there's one thing I worry about with this fight, and that's Frey typically is very low volume. That does worry me. So, but I think she has advantages everywhere except for arm bar guard. So she's the pick, and the pick is by decision. And maybe if it gets in the plus money range as the week goes on, I may be interested in taking a shot at it.
Is money moving towards Demopoulos right now? I'm looking now. Seems a mixed bag.
She got a little. She's gotten a boost. She started at +250. She's down to +221, but it's just not good enough for me to take this fight even money and root for something boring for 15 minutes.
I feel like if you are on the sub prop for Vanessa, I have a good feeling that FanDuel is going to probably give like something juicy later on in the week, like +800, +1,000 in classic FanDuel fashion. And so I might, if it's +1,000, I'll hedge that. You already know, but
yeah, I mean, right. That's her win condition. So
let's move right along, huh? All right. So here we got Mario. Oh my goodness, Mario Bautista versus Brian Kelleher. Bautista is 9-2-0. He's 28 years old, 5'9" with a 69-inch reach, and he's training out of MMA Lab, a really good gym. And then on the other side, you've got Kelleher, 24, 13-0, 35 years old, 5'6" with a 64-inch reach. And Typology has him training out of Long Island MMA. I could not confirm or deny that, so that's what we're going to go with. And yeah, for me, I went into this thinking, all right, maybe Kelleher is live because I remember watching Bautista and Perrin, and I had money on Bautista. I felt like it was a bit too close for comfort. Like there were things that I really liked, right? Like what he did when in the clinch or when Perrin closed the distance, he would put his hand on the neck, use the kind of Muay Thai movement and reverse the position. That was dope. That's going to be useful here. But in certain areas, I was still a bit concerned. You know, he was still getting hit. Perrin outnumbered him on strikes in the first round, if I remember correctly. And like he was getting taken down. Perrin couldn't hold him down, but he was getting taken down. And I feel that Kelleher can find some success there. I think that Kelleher on the feet can pose some issues when he closes the distance. I apologize. I got kind of sick in Austin. But overall, I do think Bautista probably wins. I don't see Kelleher being able to hold him down. And at a distance, Bautista's going to be piecing him up, I think. It's only when he closes that gap, Kelleher, in the pocket, when I think he can find some success. He's very hooky. He doesn't throw much straight. Everything's just at hooks. And he's beating lower level competition. You know, Domingo Pilarte, the win over Kevin Kroom. Even then, Kroom was piecing off on him the first 2 rounds, you know? So I'm definitely on Bautista here. I think he probably just keeps it on the feet, outstrikes Kelleher. I'm kind of curious about the submission only prop. I feel like
Kelleher.
That might be something sneaky because Kelleher can hit a sub here, right? And then Kelleher's also been subbed how many times? I have it down. It's like 6 or 7 times. So that's an interesting angle, but I'm on the Bautista side. How about you, Lou?
Yeah, let's make it 2 for 2. I feel like the only way that Kelleher wins here is with a flash sub. I think Bautista is going to have a huge advantage on the feet. You know, we're talking before the show about the Perrin fight. There were times in that fight I think it could have been stopped. He started teeing off on Perrin. Meanwhile, Kelleher, I mean, it wasn't even that long ago we had good wins. I mean, choked out Ode Osborne. That was, you know, a little more than maybe 2.5 years ago. But I would say that's a decent win. Hunter Azur's an all right win. But then, you know, and losing to Ricky Simone's, there's nothing wrong with that. But then the Pilarte win I wasn't impressed with. And the Kevin Kroom win was, I think I might have had Kelleher in the distance there, but Kroom is if he's barely UFC level. So I think Kelleher may just be getting to the point now, like too many fights too soon. I'm not even going to take anything away from the Umar Nurmagomedov loss. Like you got caught, you lost to a guy who's on the rise. So it's no big deal there. But Bautista's really athletic. I mean, the only thing I worry about with Bautista is sometimes he's like the architect of his own demise. Like I could see him diving in and getting caught in a guillotine, but I think if this stays on its feet, it's clearly him. I think if it goes to the ground, it's probably him on top for the bulk of it. And Kelleher hasn't looked great as the fights have gone on. Like I haven't been impressed. So always want the younger guy with the better stand up. So the line's reasonable for Bautista. It's not out of hand. It's in that, depending on where you look, that 160 to 170 range. I don't think that's unreasonable. There's no method I like here yet. I'm not really, there's nothing I like decision or in the distance wise, but I think Bautista gets it done either just stays on the feet for the majority of it, or he has a lot of ground and pound and just avoids Kelleher getting a sub.
What do you think of the fight doesn't go here, Lou?
I don't like it.
Nah.
I think because I still think Kelleher's pretty tough, and like the way he loses is by getting subbed. And I know Bautista does have some subs, but if this fight does stay standing, like I would think that it would be smart of Bautista to keep it standing. If it does stay standing, Kelleher's pretty tough. I mean, I just think he's going to piece him up. And honestly, Bautista, again, I know every fight's different, but he couldn't get Jay Perrin out of there, who took the fight on like 4 days notice. So I can't trust that all of a sudden he's going to have like a well of power. He's going to go to the submission game. And he would be smart to just completely keep, if this thing hits the ground, if Kelleher even like goes to the ground, if I'm Bautista, just get him up. I would just keep it on the feet as much as you can. So I'd lean Bautista decision, if anything, but like, I mean, Kelleher could be getting into that range where he's a shot fighter. I don't like betting against people fighting out of Long Island, but I also like making money. Well, I am. We'll see. A couple of weeks, I'll be making the Prince will return.
You're coming, right? To UFC Long Island?
Yeah, I'll be there a few days early. Go walk around like I'm like, hey, I went to middle school there, and then I moved, and people are gonna be like, "Who the hell are you, dude?" And I'd be like, "I'm motherfucking Lou. You mean who I am? Don't you like So don't you watch YouTube? I'm Lou motherfucking betcha.
Maybe you guys will get an episode of the Bet Elevator live with me and Lou in the same room.
Very possible. lots of seltzers.
All right, lots of seltzers. All right, so moving on, we got Cody Durden versus JP Buys. So this one's fun, huh? A lot of different drama narratives going into this one. So we got Durden, 12-4-1, 31 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach, and he's training out of ATT. And then we got JP Buys. He's 9-4-0, 26 years old, 5'5". So he's actually giving up 2 inches in height, which doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound right, but I guess I'm going to pull it up and double check that real quick. All right, yeah, that's what UFC has. And then he's training out of Extreme Couture according to Tapology. And that's what I have on my notes as well. So we're going to go with that. And for this one, I went into it initially leaning Durden. Then I switched to Buys. And then I placed my bet. And now I'm kind of feeling Durden a bit more. So I'm like really torn here. But for me, it really comes down to this. JP Buys has shown really good things, but it's only like round one, you know? You watch his fight with Bruno Silva. I was on Silva there. I thought he was getting underrated, and he did. But you watch that fight, JP Buys was looking good in the striking until he wasn't, until he got knocked out, right? I know a lot of people say it's because he got tired and whatnot. I didn't exactly see him getting tired. Maybe he did, but I just saw him getting finished. So, you know, but and then you watch the Montel Jackson fight, and like I was all over Jackson there. I thought he was a lock, and you know he was a lock, but Buys was taking him down, especially in round one. Like if you judged who was the better grappler based on round one, most people would probably say JP Buys, right? So those things to me suggest that he should be able to hang with Durden in most areas here. My big thing is, can he hang after round one? Can he hang after round two? That's the thing. The one thing that gave me like comfort in taking JP Buys anyways was that Durden isn't exactly a beast of cardio either. Usually round two, round three, Durden's also slowing down. He's also not looking great. So I did like Buys there. I feel like in the striking realm itself, like if you just look there, I think that JP Buys is probably better. He's putting together better combinations. He looks a bit more natural on the feet. The one thing I would give to Durden is his jab. I love his jab. I love how much he uses it. I like the output for Durden also a little bit better. He's a bit sloppy as well, and I think that's where JP Buys can find his success. So I'm on the buy side, only 1.15 units. I took him at the pick'em price, I believe, at minus 115. And right now it is, let's check. Yeah, so Buys is actually the favorite now, which I don't love. But on Bet Rivers, if you got that book, they're both minus 112. So I don't hate that. It's a super close fight. I'm leaning Buys, but I think an argument can easily be made for either one. How about you, Lou?
Yeah, so Bays, it's hard to like evaluate him because they really didn't do many favors. I mean, you look at like Montel Jackson. I mean, and that's another fight that could have been called. He got knocked down 5 times, I believe, in that, if I'm not mistaken, 4 or 5 times. And then Silva. I mean, I rate Silva pretty highly. I think Silva's had some like really nice.
Thank you.
His losses are like, he lost it to Gier and he lost it to Dvorak. Like those are good losses. I mean, when I say good losses, you know what I mean? Like those are acceptable losses. Yeah, and he beats Victor Rodriguez. Like, I mean, all right, I don't know, Rodriguez is great, but he demolishes him. So they really haven't done Bays any favors with the schedule. Durden is kind of a dick. Just plain and simple, he's kind of a dick. And if he's seeing this, like, I mean, he'd probably be like, oh, I know I am. Like, I didn't like that comment he made. Like, it happens, I guess. But like, I didn't really like what he was saying to Arichi Lang there, especially because I like Arichi Lang. But I think Durden, you're saying Bays is better on the feet. Maybe volume wise, I think Durden has a power advantage. I think he's like you mentioned, he's no cardio machine. The best bet for me is I said I lean Durden, especially now that the lines flip, but I really just like fight doesn't go and you're getting plus odds. It's plus 125. I mean, you want to play under 2.5, like whatever. But if I see fight doesn't go at plus odds, I'm good with that. I don't trust the cardio. And I think Durden is a guy, he's kill or be killed. And, I've seen the Jimmy Flick fight is like still, how did that happen? Like, I don't understand how Jimmy Flick won that fight. And I don't think Jimmy Flick did either, because then he retired. He's like, nothing more I can accomplish. It's hard for me to really have confidence in his side, but I do really feel good that this thing could get sloppy. And there are potential when they come out. This is a fight that I would target a round 3 prop. I don't know why fight doesn't go as plus money here. I truthfully don't know. Maybe it's the only thing I can think of is when it came out, Durden was the favorite, and they looked at Durden against Richie Lang. They're like, well, he just wore him out, and that, Bays lasted against Montel Jackson. So, like, if he went the distance there, how's this guy going to get out of there? I'm only guessing why they're setting the line at plus money, but I think it's crazy, and I think Durden will force the action enough. Now, yeah, I like the time prop better than I like the side here. But I think a round 3 prop might be interesting later in the week with their cardio issue.
For a side on round 3 or fight to end in round 3?
I mean, I'm gonna kind of gauge the market, and like I may take a second look at this fight. But I mean, even just fight to end in round 3, if fight doesn't go, it's plus 125. You're probably gonna get it worth plus 900 for that play, and then you don't care who wins, and like you're still not on a side. You're just rooting that one of their cardios has like shit to bed. And I think it's a pretty safe bet that both guys are going to be tired in the third and one guy will be completely gassed.
The styles, I feel like, right? It kind of sets up perfect for one of them to get exhausted. If both of them are defending takedowns, neither of them are a comfortable striker. Like, they're going to get really tired, I feel like.
I mean, Bays could catch him with a choke in the first. Like, don't get me wrong. Durden could just dive in. I could see that. But when we've seen that, if it stays standing, I mean, as much as you said you like Bays here, I just think Durden can throw some wild shit and like really hurt him. I mean, there's a universe where that Montel Jackson fight stopped, and we're not talking about how tough he is. So we'll see. I just think stick with the time props for now, and then see how the market moves on the line. I'm shocked that it flipped completely.
Me too.
Shocked. But I wonder how much of it is people just don't like Durden, like they think of him as a rotten person. Like I
feel like that whole thing, that whole narrative of like, oh, people are only betting against him because they don't like him. I feel like that kind of fell through this weekend. Now, like everyone was on Kelly, even though everyone said everyone hates Kelly. So I don't know. I guess that's.
I think the big thing with the Kelly fight was that they felt the line was lined wrong, which I had. Look, I own it, man. It's going to go down as one of my crappiest bets I've ever made. Like just the way it played out. But I also got to say, if there's a bet I'm ever been happy to lose, that's the one. So
do you think for the Kelly fight, do you think like part of the line had to do with like, I mean, not the line. Do you think the reason people thought he had a chance was because he like smoked, what's his face?
Costa?
Yeah, the guy who looked good against Diaz in the first round. You think that's why?
I mean, yeah, and also the fact that he had, you have a guy who's never been knocked out against a guy who's really his path to victory is a knockout. The Davy Grant fight, notwithstanding that his path to victory is like meme KO. So I think people thought Kelly could hang in the fight. I mean, I know a lot of people that their biggest bet of the night was that fight goes to distance. That was their biggest bet of the night.
I bet that fight doesn't go the distance, and the entire MMA community made me feel like an idiot. Not because anyone said anything to me, but I just saw that everyone and their mom bet fight goes. So I was like, what am I getting wrong here? And thankfully, Yannis helped me out.
Yeah, I had the literally exact opposite of what the result was. I had Kelly decision and Kelly split decision. So like, if you're gonna lose, that's how you're gonna lose. Like I got Ender's gamed on that, but and now Kelly still looks like an idiot.
He's still.
Can we talk about the kid? Can we talk about the kid that made the mistake of telling Julian Marquez how bad he was? Can we talk about like? Please tell me you saw this, right?
I did see that, and honestly, like that sucked, and like we're kind of used to that. You know what pissed me off the most? Like, I don't take any part in the Twitter drama, and you'll never see me post about it. But this is my show, so I don't really care. You saw the whole thing with the MMA fortune teller and Kevin Holland.
Oh yeah, he's a why would He's a dope. You should have paid him.
That honestly sucked the most for me because I was like, when I first got into MMA, like betting, the first show I ever watched was the MMA fortune teller, and the second one was Clint. So like I always had a certain amount of respect for the fortune teller, but this whole new parade of like calling himself the teller and whatever like that. Okay, fuck, that's not important either. Just the whole thing with Kevin Holland. Like, all right, you made the bet,
pay the man, dude. You got
like,
press out of
at
it.
least
Pay
him. But now you're quiet. Now all of a sudden the goals have switched. You said it's a wrestling match now. Like, come on. Like, that just sucks. Like, these fighters work so hard and they deserve our respect. So it just really annoys me to see that stuff. But enough about that. Let's move on to this fight. What do you say, Lou?
All right.
We got Raulian Paiva versus Sergey Morozov. Paiva is 21-4-0, 26 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Let's call it that. And he's training out of Team Alpha Male. And then on the other side, you got Morozov, 17-5-0, 33 years old, 5'6" with a 67-inch reach. And he's at ATT, I believe. Let me double check that one. I believe he's there, but yeah. So for this one, I mean, I was all over Morozov from the jump, and then the tape just confirmed what I was thinking. I was never a big Paiva guy. I thought that Giagos would beat Paiva. I thought that Giagos did beat Paiva. I thought that Kelleher would beat Paiva. I thought that Kelleher at least got a draw with Paiva at worst. I thought that Sean O'Malley would knock out Paiva, and he did. So
putting it mildly, he knocked him out.
Yeah, I don't really think that highly of him. Like, look, his takedown defense is showing good numbers, right? But like realistically, against who? Giagos was the best wrestler he fought, and Giagos got those takedowns. Not all of them, but he got them. Morozov is going to be the best wrestler he's fought so far, without any doubt in my mind. And I think that's going to give Paiva fits. My main concern is if Morozov decides to strike. But even then, like you watch it and like realistically, what does Paiva do on the feet that is like really so crazy? His striking's not that great.
Takes abuse. What does he do that's so crazy? Takes abuse.
His kicks are good, right? He's got a great kick game, but his strikes are like his punches are lacking, in my opinion. And I think that the strikes are going to go to Morozov here. I think on the feet he can win, and on the ground I think he can dominate. So I love Morozov. I think he's like minus 140 now, 150,
140.
Yeah, 135. If you can get 135, I would take that. I have him at minus 130. I really do think he wins, man. I'm not even sure how Paiva wins, right? Like, you could say maybe a KO, but he looked so sloppy to me. Like, I rewatched the tape, and like he does so much stuff where he's like putting himself out of place with his strikes, where I think Morozov can just find his chin. So I'm on the Morozov side. I'm gonna play him. I already did play him money line, parlayed him a bit, and I'm eyeing the inside the distance. How about you, Lou?
Well, not only am I going to play Morozov, but his KO prop is 5-1, and that's what I'm targeting specifically. I don't understand why this line is the way it is, because I don't, look, I love this like whole alt history UFC thing that I like to do when I break these fights down. Paiva should be 1-5 in his last 6 fights, because 9 out of 10 refs are stopping the Kyler Phillips fight. There's a case that Phillips round 1 was the result that should have happened there. The Giagos fight, I'm with you. I don't think he won, but was it a huge robbery? No, because Giagos fights in a style that judges hate. But there's a universe where he's 1-5, and there's, in that same universe, Morozov is coming off a round 1 against Andrade, another fight that could and should have been stopped in the first round. I'm glad it wasn't. Look, as a fan, I love watching these fights, but as a gambler, and I was on Morozov there too, but that fight this fight could have very easily not happened if these fights are stopped when they're supposed to be stopped. So for Morozov to be minus 140 here is bonkers to me. I think he's better everywhere. I worry about, I see Kiarix in the chat saying if he doesn't get him out of there round 1, he's live, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of the Morozov to Andrade fight. I've watched it back 4 times. I still don't feel like it's possible that what I watched happened. His dominance. But so maybe that means Morozov comes in here, because look, Morozov threw so many strikes, was so active trying to get the finish in the first round that he shot his load. if Morozov just comes in and maybe he doesn't have to go 100 miles an hour off the jump, he's going to have the cardio to survive a minimum of 10 minutes. And then maybe it gets interesting. But I think Morozov is just going to have too much for him on the feet. He's going to hit the ground. I could see a ground and pound KO round 1, early round 2. But Morozov all day for me. This should be -2. This should be -200. Like,
I agree.
Easy.
I agree. At least -200. Like, if TJ Brown is -200, I think Morozov should have been too. But just to add to what you were saying about what Kiarix mentioned, my boy, by the way, thank you for tuning in, Kiarix. Like, De Andrade carries power, a lot of it. We've always known this. He's always carried a lot of power. I don't think you can say that Paiva really carries that much power, Who's he stopped? Mark De La Rosa? Like, Mark De La Rosa never belonged in the UFC, So I don't know about that. But anyways, we're both on the Morozov side. I do think he wins this one fairly well, but let's move on. So for this one, I will do the intro real quick. Lou, do you mind starting the breakdown? I got to use the bathroom.
Sure.
Lou's so sick of my shit at this point.
Go ahead.
So we got TJ Brown versus Shayilan Nuerdanbieke. Brown is 16, 8-0, 32 years old, 5'9" with a 74-inch reach. And he is training out of Glory MMA, I believe now. And then Shayilan Nuerdanbieke is 36, 10-0. He's 28 years old, which is nuts because he's literally got 46 fights, 5'8" with the 70-inch reach. And he's at Sanford MMA, which was interesting to me. My personal favorite camp. But all right, Lou, take it away. I will be right back.
So, I mean, I wanted to take Shayilan so bad for 2 reasons. One, his nickname's Wolverine, which is like fucking awesome. And 2, his hat is badass. But that's kind of where, like, yeah, I wish I could highlight this. I wish I had the controls. As Wheezy would say, this is another Chinese Greco-Roman world champion. Kiarix is obviously tuned in the shows on the MMA Engine and Wheezy's channel. So it's weird to me, like, TJ Brown at -210, like, kind of blows. Like, I never want to lay odds like that on this guy, but honestly, like, I don't know what Shayilan's done to even justify being this close. Like, Zurong knocked him out a couple of years ago. He loses to Kulabao. He beats Sean Soriano when he can't finish him, and Soriano is like the worst. Like, Soriano is just, if you bet Soriano every fight he had, you are probably off Twitter and humiliated because Soriano has nothing to offer anybody. So I don't know that I've seen any tape on Shayilan where I was like, yeah, don't worry, I already addressed that. It's Wheezy's favorite. It's Wheezy's line of the week.
So
I don't know. I don't know what Shailan's good at. Like, I just don't know. And what I do know what TJ Brown is, where I'm not like super sold on him, he does come out of a really good camp. The Charles Rosa thing, like, yeah, he beat him up a little. Charles Rosa took that on like 3 days notice, maybe. I remember because that was at 155. So I know Rosa took that like on real short notice. The Kamaka win I thought was really good because that's when Kamaka was getting some hype. He's had a mixed bag of results. I think he's better than his record. But, like, he's the pick. He's a parlay piece at best, but, man, I just don't like laying -200 on this guy. What about you?
I don't know. For me, like, if I'm going to be concerned about laying, like, chalk on a money line, like, I need to know what I'm concerned about. And watching the tape, I don't know what to be concerned about. Like, is Shayilan really going to find success taking TJ Brown down? I don't know. I mean, if you just look at his numbers and you see the 36% takedown defense, okay, sure. But that's also because no one's really shooting on him other than Danny Chavez and Dylan Lockhart on the Contender Series. Like, you look at his Jordan Griffin fight, right? Jordan Griffin is a grappler, and TJ Brown took him down 7 times. He lost by sub, yes, but he took him down 7 times. Chavez took him down 4 times, so I think that's what's kind of affecting some people's opinion. But then he took Kai Kamaka down twice. I know that Kai gets a lot of, shit from people, but I personally think fairly highly of Kai Kamaka. I'm surprised that the UFC cut him. I think that was a mistake. And then he took Charles Rosa down 6 times. So I just don't see what there is to really be concerned about too much. I'll never call any fighter a lock. MMA is crazy. Just look at the Rakic fight with Jan Blachowicz. Look at the Jiri Glover fight. MMA is nuts. Nothing's a lock. I'm not seeing it with Shayilan, so I do really like TJ Brown. I like him to win probably inside the distance, but I'm just playing him money line, and I have him in a few parlays. I don't know what I'll do with props just yet. If there's anything
Wolverine is the better nickname. Let's just get that out of the way.
I mean, Wolverine over Downtown Brown, yeah, easy.
And as somebody who likes hats, he has the better hat.
Like, he does have the better hat.
I know, but like now, I just want to tell you a quick. I never even told this on my channel, but like, so like my buddies that I was with this weekend, like they always troll me in my chat, Larson and Slam Pig. But when I first met Slam Pig like years ago, he's big. He's the guy I watch all my fights with. Like every weekend, he's who I watch fights with. And I told him that like my manifesto for gambling. So it's like step 1 is your name Brock Lesnar. Like, okay, oh, you're not. All right. It's like step 2. It's like comes down to like nationality. Like if it's like a Samoan against like, I don't want to be like hateful. So let's say like me, I want the Samoan guy. And then it's like chest hair, bad tattoos, cool hats, and nicknames. I forget where I had nicknames in there. Like if your nickname's like terrible, then I'm like, there's no way I'm betting you. Because like that's why I don't think I ever bet on Corey Beeston 25-8 Anderson. Because it was the worst nickname I ever heard in my life. So these things matter to me when I make bets. Now, as a professional content creator now, I have to maybe go away from that manifesto, but the hat still matters to me. Like,
have you ever heard Habib's original nickname?
No.
Bad Boy.
That's pretty bad. I mean, like you got to come to the ring and like, I mean, like I remember like WEC had like, first it'd be like Razor Rob McCullough. And I'm like, all right, that's not a terrible name because at least it like a little onomatopoeia with his first name. And then you get to like the Korean Zombie. And I'm like, oh shit, like this league's great. Like, like California Kid, it's not a horrible nickname. Like again, like and it's like an old timey boxing name. Like, so that's fun. Downtown is a terrible nickname. I get that it plays into his name, but like, dude, come on, man. Like, what can Brown do for you would have been like a way better name there. Like, but nothing's worse than 25 Beast and 25-8. Nothing, no nickname is worse. Blonde Fighter, by the way, totally underrated nickname. Great nickname.
Speaking of good nicknames, honestly, I feel like Tafon's got a pretty dope one. So here we've got Tafon Nchukwi versus Carlos Ulberg, and this is probably one of the bigger divides in MMA Twitter this week. So we've got Tafon Nchukwi, who is 6'2" and 27 years old. He is 6 feet tall, 77-inch reach, and he's training out of Team Lloyd Irvin. I believe that's still where he is based off his Instagram. And then Ulberg is 4'1" and 0. He's 31 years old, 6 feet 4 inches tall, so he's got a 4-inch height advantage. Same exact reach at 77 inches, and he's training out of City Kickboxing. And, we all know the story with Ulberg. He's essentially out of Sanya, but not as good. Very little ground game, even though he's mixing that up now. His last fight, he got 2 takedowns. That was interesting to see. His striking is his thing. We all gave him a bunch of crap for his first fight when he blew his load early. But then, in my opinion, a lot of people will give him crap for his next fight against, who's the guy who kind of stinks, Lou? What's his name?
Sharon.
The water buffalo. Against Sharon, like, yeah, like I get why people are saying, oh, like his performance was uninspiring there. But I also think it's worth looking at it from this point of view. He got all this crap for losing his first fight because he went in too hard too early. Is it really that surprising that his second fight he goes a little bit softer and takes all 3 rounds? Like, I don't think it's that surprising. Did it look that good? No, but I still think he's very talented. I think he's a really good striker, and it's City Kickboxing. They've showed incredible takedown defense training over there. You look at Kai Kara France and what they've done with him. They know what they're doing there. So I just feel like, he's fighting a guy like Tafon, and while I acknowledge that Tafon can get takedowns and he can get control, he's not some high-level wrestler, and I think he's going to struggle with Ulberg. I think that, first of all, the length is important to mention. You know, it's very difficult to take long guys down. They have those long legs where even if you lift them, they can kind of plant their feet before you get them down on the ground. And it can get really, really annoying. I'm speaking from experience here. I don't think back in my wrestling career, I had one guy who was like 6 feet tall, and I wrestled him twice, and he beat me every single time because no matter what entry I got, he would just sit back, reach over my body, and just throw me over. So I get how it is, but I do like Ulberg to win. I'm not super confident. It's a tiny play for me, just 1.15 unit money line to win 1 unit. But what are you thinking, Lou?
I'm actually surprised the Tapology percentages are what they are. I thought this would be more 50-50. So like pre-tape, I'm like Tafon all day. And then, you know, the one thing I worry about, I do have a bet that I'm going to give out here that I like, and you're going to think it's weird, but I'm going to do it anyway. But what I worry about is I like I don't like guys coming back within a few months. I don't like guys coming back like within 2-3 months of getting knocked out. But Tafon looked good. I mean, he looked pretty good in his last fight, that was the curtain jerker, if I'm not mistaken, which is weird because it felt like a higher level fight than the open, like a weird
prospect
afternoon
fight
card. Yeah. So, you know, look, not a lot of experience from either guy. You know, Ulberg threw a lot of strikes in his first fight in the UFC and then tired out. And then he did nothing in his second fight. He did get hit a couple of times, but I mean, Sharant is like Sharant Hunsucker has to happen in my lifetime. That is a fight I need. like he needs to move on. Like he needs to go back to heavyweight. And I need or now Hunsucker's moving down to 205. So like maybe there's a universe where we can see.
What do you think Tyson Pedro is going to open at for that fight?
Minus 1,000, easy.
I feel like he's going to close like minus 25. Like how does
and honestly, round one's probably going to be like minus 250, like at least. Like it's going to be like that's going to be one where you see all like the conspiracy theorists and like on MMA Twitter being like, I have a quarter unit on Hunsucker by decision. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I know you will. You almost have to. I mean, heavyweight MMA, like I guess, but here's the thing: I can't back either guy. I would still lean to Fon because I do think he has one-shot knockout power. But they've both been knocked out. I don't know what kind of Ulberg we're going to see. So I'm going to have to make assumptions here. I'm going to have to make 2 assumptions in this fight. Tafon's going to come out a little more tentative, coming off a knockout that's recent. And that Ulberg, because he fought a slower paced fight that let him keep his cardio last time out, is probably going to keep that pace. So what does that lead to? I like over 2.5 at plus money here. It's sitting at plus 110. Look, man, I know people hate betting overs. I don't even love betting overs in these kind of fights. In any fight, I don't like betting over. But I really think we're going to get like a super weird tentative first round. And even if Tafon does take him down, he's not some elite guy on the ground who's going to like immediately mount him and like rain down on him. I think Ulberg could get up and just force this to be like, could we get 6-7 minutes of this fight against the cage in ugly position? I do. And I do think it'll be low volume. So I favor the over. I don't think Ulberg can get him out of there with one shot. I do think Ulberg could get him out of there with volume, but it would be late. And whereas I think Tafon can get him out of there like with one shot, I don't know that that's what he's going to do. I don't know that that's the game plan here. So
has
I'm going to take
even KO'd anybody with one shot? Like ever?
I think he had like a 3-piece on tape that I saw, but it was against like it was low level. So I mean,
think
I
William
can't even.
Knight, if I remember.
Well, talk about low level. Like there you go.
Yeah.
So I just think this is going to be like a battle of attrition. So I'm going to play the over 2.5. I won't play a side here, and
my one concern, I guess, with the over is like, what if Ulberg comes in here with like a chip on his shoulder, right? And he's like, all right, everybody gave me all this crap again now that I didn't put in the pressure. Like, all right, now I need a finish. And then Tafon on the other side, he's coming off a KO loss. He's got something to prove too. So like, you know.
I mean, that's why it's gambling. Like we have to just, you and I have to make assumptions like with guys that just don't have a lot of professional fights. So that's why I just like, I'm not going to bet much on this fight one way or the other. Like I put a bet on Tafon, like for the line first came out because he was plus money, but like I could easily, I mean, depending on like how the action plays out, if he can get a little bit of steam and there's a chance for me to hedge out of it, I probably will. Like I just don't love this fight either way.
Yeah, I'm on the same page, man. Feel you, Lou. But let's move on to one I know we disagree on, so it should be some fun. Here we've got Chris Curtis versus Rodolfo Vieira. Chris Curtis is 28-8-0. He's 34 years old, 5'10", with a 75-inch reach. And I believe Syndicate is still correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lou. I'm not sure. But then we got Vieira, 8-1-0, 32 years old, 6 feet tall with a 73-inch reach. And as far as I could tell, he's at Fusion XL Performance. And I don't think that's anything new. I think I remember him being there already. So
grappling fight team sounds made up anyway.
It kind of does, right? Some of these names really do sound made up. But
Wrestle Karate Institution is where he fights out of now.
You ever see the gym? I think it's like Law MMA or something, like something about like lawyer MMA. The first time I saw it, I was like, what is this?
I don't know, but like if the spreadsheets that you guys see Wheezy use, like I generate them through my software in like 3-4 minutes. I mean, it's his data, but like I try to save him a lot of time. But when I put these things together and I look through it to make sure it's right, I see some of these fight camps and I'm like, that can't be right. I think the one of them was like literally like Love Fights MMA, and I'm like, was every other name taken? That like that's what you went with? Like, all right.
But yeah. So for this fight, I mean, everybody's saying it's pretty straightforward, and it kind of is. It's striker versus grappler, right? You got Chris Curtis, who is pretty one-dimensional. He kind of reminds me of Andre Fiallo in that he doesn't even throw kicks, really. It's really just boxing. That's really all he's got. His takedown defense is good. His heart is there. He's a dog for sure. You look at his fights with in PFL when he fought Magomed Karimov, right? And then Ray Cooper in the same exact night. Like, it takes a special kind of person to do that kind of thing. He lost both fights, but two tough guys. For me, it's really going to come down to this. Like, if Vieira can't get him down, I think Vieira's kind of screwed. Vieira does have, I'll say this, Vieira's not just a grappler anymore. His striking is improving. His jab looked great in his last fight. He does look like a decent striker, but also like he was having a striking affair with Dustin Stoltzfus, And if you're going to have a close striking affair with Dustin, I think that if you're going to keep it standing with Chris Curtis, you're probably going to be in trouble. Chris Curtis does things that are very good, like similar to like Andre, oh my goodness, to Yanez, similar to Yanez. He'll roll with his shots very well. Like when he's getting punched, he'll roll his shoulders well. He'll move his head well. Takes a lot of the pressure of the shot off. His striking itself is really crisp. His counters are crisp. He mixes up the targets well. As long as he can get up when Vieira takes him down, because I do think Vieira does get him down at least a few times. As long as he can get up, keep it standing, I think he should win. Not my most comfortable pick, but I really do like Curtis here. Lou, I know you're on the other side, so let's hear what you're thinking.
So according to Alex Baharin, Curtis's favorite band is Nickelback. So immediately, like, there's no way I'm betting on him here. Yeah, I wonder how much of this line is based on the fact that, like, well, that's probably not a lot, but like I know Curtis is a big internet darling, and everybody loves the guy. His Twitter game is pretty funny. What I wonder here is, you know how I feel about Brendan Allen in general, in that his fight IQ is poor. Brendan Allen just decided to stand up with Curtis. And I think he had one takedown attempt, and it wasn't even like a good entry. I think he just I don't know. Like he fought like a really stupid fight against a guy whose path to victory was cracking Allen, and that's what happened. Now you're talking about Vieira's jab. If he throws one jab in this fight, I lost the bet. Like, I mean, he should just, there should be like, if it's a jab just to set up like a takedown, fine. But you know, we're talking about Curtis's defense. It's hard. Not Curtis, other guy. Like if you look at his history, you forgive the Ray Cooper loss. Like I mean, it's he lost in round 7. Let's put it that way. Like it wasn't just the second fight of the night. He had a 5-round marathon. So I just think Vieira is going to be like nothing he's seen before. And I don't really know what Vieira's ceiling is like at 185. Like I think he's too one-dimensional to really go far. But I think he might only need one takedown here. I really honestly believe it. I think he's getting better and better. I'm going to say this. So I'm on the Vieira sub. I don't think he wins a decision, to be honest. Because if this fight gets late second, early third, you have to live bet Chris Curtis, I believe. I think the 3rd round knockout is live. Fun fact. You know what Curtis's round 3 knockout prop is? I don't even have to look at it because I looked at it yesterday and I was shocked. What do you think his round 3 knockout prop is?
I can't tell if it's too high or too low based on your reaction.
What do you? I mean, it's a round 3 prop. So what do you think it is?
KO, you said?
Yeah.
Plus 25
for Chris Curtis. What if I told you it was what if I told you it was plus 650? You'd think I was great. Like it's
plus 650
for a round 3 KO. So the book, what I'm saying is, I looked at it, I was like shocked. They know that that's going to be live.
There's no way.
That's what it is, dude. Why would I make that up?
Wow, he's not lying. That's nuts.
It's unbelievable. So you can't even bet that pre-fight because I was like, well, you know, maybe that's a good way to play like a little hedge.
Me too.
But they're saying like we realize this fight gets in the 3rd, like that's Curtis's win condition. So I would say that he's a little better than Brahim. I think he's better. I mean, I do. I mean, Vieira is like a class, like a world class talent. Like it's just he's making the transition and he's still doing a lot of like grappling matches. So if it's cardio, I mean, I don't think this gets out of the 2nd, but that live bet spot, if it does, is. And I wonder how sharp they're going to be in Vegas to that live bet.
You know what plus money bet I'm betting here no matter what?
What's that?
Fight goes the distance.
Plus 700, 650?
It's just so ridiculous where I just feel like I need to play it. You know?
Do you remember the last time? Do you remember the last time a line was like that?
For fight goes? I don't remember, no.
It was Pereira Silva, and it did in fact go the distance. And Weezy and I we're talking like during one of our meetings, and he's like, don't you feel like we have to put something on this, like, because it's so juiced? And I'm like, absolutely. Like, they could just respect each other's power for 15 minutes. Like, I don't think that's how it would play out here. But like to your like point, if Vieira can't get him out of there in the first 2 rounds of the sub, maybe he survives the 3rd and you get that played out. If Vieira wins the decision, like, all right, dude, like I give up. But I don't think you play Vieira money line. You play a sub. It's plus 210. I love it. That's the side I'm on. And I think I'm going to take a poke on round 2 just because, as I like to tell you, it pays more than round 1. But I really do think this
round 3 pays more than round 2, though.
He's not. Well, if it gets to round 3, I'd be shocked if he could move. But I do like Vieira round 1, round 2. I don't know what DraftKings prop is on that yet. I'll have to look on Betway. I know it's the same provider. But Vieira round 1, round 2, if that's better than plus 210, I'd rather play that than the sub prop. But
you mean like round 1 or 2?
Yeah, like when you get those grouping of rounds. But yeah, I just can't get past. And look, man, I realize, and I like watching Curtis fight, man. But I just think it's a really bad matchup, and I'm really shocked at the 78% I'm staring at.
Oh yeah, I mean the bet online. I mean the Tapology numbers here are crazy. There was one. What was it?
Well, that one makes sense.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it was. There was one that surprised me. It was like the underdog. Oh, this one right here. Tell me that's not a little crazy. Paiva 61%. Morozov 39.
Maybe Paiva's whole family. Maybe Paiva's whole family has Tapology accounts because it's really weird.
Who knows?
Or maybe it's a bunch of people that lost money on Morozov, and they're just like, nope. You got you got to have a short. Like it's good to have a memory in this game, but like you can't let it bias your own betting when you see a line you like.
Can't pick favorites, but all right. So this next one, I highly doubt we disagree much, but we got to break it down anyways. We've got Umar Nurmagomedov versus Nate Maness. Umar is 14-0-0. He's 26 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. And then Nate Maness is 14-1-0. That one coming to Taylor Lapilus by KO. Taylor's actually pretty damn good. He's not in the UFC, but he's a good fighter, so not the worst loss. 30 years old, 5'10" with the 72-inch reach. And I couldn't confirm the camp really. It does seem like he's still at Nice Guy Submission Fighting. Like you said, Lou, one of those made-up names. Like, can you imagine walking into a gym in your hometown called Nice Guy Submission Fighting?
I mean, if Sam Alvey's there, then I understand it. Like, that's the only way I'd be like, okay, now I understand.
You know the one thing I never understood about Sam Alvey?
What's that?
Why they didn't make the Ed Herman fight. Twins. Tell me they're not twins.
You can't take the two most popular guys in the UFC and put them together.
It's literally the same person with a different name. Like nobody can convince me otherwise.
I got to tell you right now, Ed Herman has been very good to me in his career from a betting perspective. I can't explain it. I just love I love the guy. Short Fuse, great nickname.
Never get over that Mike Rodriguez fight. But anyways, so for this fight, yeah, I mean, look, this is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to spend 20 years breaking down a minus. What is he? He's like minus 1,200 now. I think Umar rolls here. I think Umar is probably just going to take Nate down. I think Umar is probably going to find that back. I think Umar's probably going to hit a rear naked. The fight that was most telling for me here was the Munoz Jr. fight. Like, you got to take it with a grain of salt because that was on short notice. But other than that, Munoz Jr. is just, like the style is very similar to Umar, is just not nearly as good. And still, he was able to find success, right? He controlled Nate for like 12 minutes. Not all that was on the ground, but some of it was. He got only 2 of 16 takedowns, but still racked up that control time. On the feet, he outstruck Nate Maness, if I remember correctly. So at the end of the day, like, what is he really going to do here? Like, can he keep the fight up if Umar shoots? Sometimes, yeah. Like, his underhooks are really good. What he does for the defense is really solid. I know that he brought in wrestlers for his camp to train as well. But, like, it's really hard to train for someone like Umar. And my one concern with Umar is the striking, right? I absolutely hate people. I hate fighters that come in here and only throw kicks and takedowns. It's usually Dagestanis that are doing that. And I'm not a fan whatsoever. Umar does seem to be improving the hands a bit. And like even Habib has said before, like if Umar can get his hands up to the level of his feet, he'll be much better. And I'm waiting for that. It's just my one concern. I just don't think it'll be too much of an issue here because I do think that even if Maness keeps it down, up, Umar will eventually get it down. And on the feet, Maness is a good striker. He does carry power, but on rewatch, I'm not like blown away by his technique. So I think Umar gets it inside the distance. That's my main bet. And then I threw a unit on him by sub at like plus 100. It just seems a bit crazy to me. He's minus 1,200, but you're giving me his most likely path to victory for plus 100. Got to take it. So that's me. How about you, Lou?
Round 1 sub, please and thank you. Maness's last 3 fights, Munoz Jr., like you said, didn't look great. Luke Sanders, didn't look great. And the Tony Gravely fight, which should have been stopped in the first. Like, credit to Maness's toughness. Like, don't get me wrong, but that fight should have been stopped. So Maness, if there's a pattern here, Maness is winning fights against guys who make horrible mistakes. That's not going to happen here. So unlike you, I like Umar's striking a little better than you do. I'm not saying it's elite. I'm saying it seems like if you look at his last 4 fights, there are improvements every single fight. The kick's more accurate, the more crisp. So I just like the trajectory of it. He's got a long way to go, but I do like the trajectory. And I think his kicks are good enough to at least kind of give him the entries he needs for a takedown. So I'd be shocked if this didn't hit the ground in the first minute and it is over. And that's my whole analysis. Round 1 sub. there's people out there that are going to try to sell you algorithms that say Maness. You should block them on Twitter, because we have algorithms at the MMA Engine, and they don't say bet Maness. So, and we aren't.
And this algorithm right here, saying Umar.
Don't overthink this one. We're going to talk about another bet that people are on an algorithm with that's coming up, and I'm going to make another case for that too. But that's my whole analysis for this. Very easy, quick and easy.
Yeah, we won't kill too much time here. I will say this, though. Tomorrow in my fantasy show, I'll talk about it more, so tune in. But Umar under his strikes for prize picks, I love it. It's like they have him set at like 38 and a half significant strikes. And I really like that. I do. He's not going to need it, realistically.
Would he get 38 and a half in 3 rounds?
He might not. That's the thing. He might not.
I'm saying if it went the distance, would he get 38 and a half? I don't know.
He really might not. And I don't think it goes the distance. So that's why, I love that. So, but we'll move on. This one is really interesting. And I wish I could have taken the dog. But here we got Thiago Moises versus Christos Giagos. Moises is 15-6-0. He's 27 years old, 5'9" with a 70.5-inch reach, and he's training out of ATT. And then on the other side, you've got Giagos, who is 19-9-0. He's training out of Sanford MMA now. He's 32 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. And yeah, for me, I went into this really wanting to bet Giagos. I bet against Moises when he fought out. What's his name? Is it Alvarez? I think it's Alvarez. When he fought Alvarez, I was on the other side. I took the dog. I thought a KO was possible, but I was pretty shocked that it happened the way it did. But I did it because I think that Moises is good. I just don't think he's like a world beater. But that said, I just don't see how Giagos is going to beat him here, right? So in the striking, I think it's Moises all day, right? It's two grapplers, but Moises just has the better striking. He's got this Muay Thai background. He keeps everything very tight. He's very defensively sound. Everything is straight to the point. There are a lot of hooks, but I feel like in the striking realm, he's just a bit more accurate. He's just a bit more strong. I think he's just better there. Giagos, he's very loopy with his strikes. He's leaving himself open. He's putting himself out of position. Wrestling is like his thing. That's what he sells out for. And all right, even if he can get Moises down, is he going to submit Moises? I'd be shocked. Moises is a really high level BJJ black belt, and Islam got him, sure, but it's Islam. There's a huge difference between Islam and Christos Giagos. So I think Moises wins. I actually think he wins inside the distance. So I'm looking at a few things here. I'm looking at Fight Doesn't Go, which is sitting at -120 right now. I'm looking at Moises inside the distance, which is plus 135. And yeah, I mean, Moises by sub is kind of interesting, but I don't really want to get that fancy. But I do think it's Moises or nothing here. I wanted to do dog or pass, but I just can't. How about you, Lou?
So I've been going back and forth on this one, and not so and it's only because of the price. But the 3 things that are massive advantages here are strength of schedule. I mean, Moises' schedule is they hate him. You know what I mean? They just hate this guy. Alvarez, and Alvarez let's not forget that Alvarez was, what was he, 4 pounds over?
Yeah, he was really heavy. For that
fight. Because he had to move up. So, you lose to Makhachev in the 4th, which, by the way, losing to him in the 4th is going to start looking like an amazing accomplishment with all the leveling up he's doing.
Look at everybody else, right?
I'm really excited for that Beneil Dariush fight that they're going to do. My buddy Tommy, who comes in my chats a lot, him and his son are massive Dariush fans, and we think Dariush is going to think he may
upset?
shock the world. We think he may shock the world in that fight.
Do you?
I'll break down why when it comes, but you're gonna. I have an actual reason. I have actual reasoning behind it. But anyway, Alexander Hernandez is tough. Bobby Green's look, Bobby Green is a tough out.
Did you think Bobby won that one, Lou?
No, but close. If you had money,
Moises, so I'm biased.
Bobby Green was the side money-wise with the way it played out, obviously. But like Michael Johnson it's still a weirdly tough fight, you know? Like I
Michael
know
Johnson is the
whatever.
best, worst fighter in the world.
Right. And then Ismagulov, like, I mean, he's had a tough run. Like, Giagos beat who? Sean Soriano? Like, come on, dude.
And even then, he was getting beat up on the feet until the second round.
Like, he beat Soriano and Carlton Maness. Like, okay, so strength of schedule 1. Number 2, Giagos' striking defense is so bad. I mean, he's there to get hit. And it's not like Moises is an elite striker, but, like, he's certainly good enough. And then the grappling is his advantage for Moises, too. So the only thing I don't like is the line. I was looking at the Giagos plan, but then I'm like, I just can't do it because there's nothing in this guy's tape that says like Moises would have to make mistakes, and I just don't think he will. This is a get right spot for Moises. I think fight doesn't go as possible. Like, and we were talking about that one too, but I think Moises just as a parlay piece is safe. I don't know. I'll look at the finish props as the week goes on, but I'm going to say Moises or pass for me. Moises or pass, but I don't love. This is another one. Like, there's just something instinctual. Like, as I'm writing down like my potential plays as the week goes on, where like I just the pen and the paper don't want to. They don't want to like do it. They don't want to write his name down. And I have these gambler's instincts in my life where it's like, don't force it. Like, so. We'll see. This is one I just need. I probably need more time on, but
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the
price
line
is horrible.
now. Yeah, the price actually. So earlier today, before we got on the show, when I was breaking this down, I know, like I told you before, I was like, all right, I'm back. I'm on Moises now. He was minus 220, and it was picking up. It was climbing, and now it's going back the other way. He's now minus 240, and it's just like. It's crazy that kind of price thing makes a difference, but it really does for me at least.
I don't think it's going to move. I don't think it's going to move.
Yeah.
I don't see this moving one way. Oh, and by the way, another thing going against Giagos is he's from a gym that's named after an alcohol that I can never drink the rest of my life, and I have like 2 years of hazy memories too from college. So like
Sanford?
No, Black House.
Oh, he's not from there no more.
I don't care. Just it's like instant, like
you know what, low key I kind of feel like might be live here. I feel like the Moises KO might be live. It's plus 550, and I bet you FanDuel is gonna put it out for plus 700. But like, you watch the striking, right, for Giagos, and like,
I mean, his striking defense is that bad where it's not like out of the realm.
And he puts himself out of position all the time, especially with the wrestling. He gets so sloppy. And like, so think about it this way, right? Moises has the better BJJ. I'd lean Giagos with the wrestling.
I'm pulling up the striking defense, by the way.
So if Giagos is getting him down, Moises is popping back up. They're forced to strike. I feel like a KO is live from Moises. I really do think so.
So here's the problem. I mean, now so Moises' striking accuracy is 37%. That's not great. His knockdowns per 15 minutes, he's got like less than 1. That's not great. Giagos' striking defense, it says 49% on our stats, but that seems high, and that must be including all these dudes he's fighting that are like, I mean, Sean Soriano probably looked like the best defense ever against Soriano. So like, it could say 49%, but I know what the eye test says. I'm surprised it was that high and by the way, it's not like 49% is good to begin with. But
that's terrible.
Like 49% is not good, but I would have thought it was in the 30s. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, but let's move on. I can't even look at this one anymore. I can't even look at it.
This is my least favorite one for betting, honestly. Here
we go, dude.
So here we've got, oh my goodness, we got Josh Parisian versus Alan Baudot. Parisian is 14-5-0. He's 32 years old. He's 6 feet 4 inches tall, 79-inch reach. Let me double check that Scorpion thing. All right, so Scorpion fighting system seems right, but he did spend some time at Mercy Lago recently. So that's interesting. He's changing it up. You know, that's probably for the best. And then Baudot on the other side is 8-3-0. He's 34 years old, 6 foot 3 inches tall, 79-inch reach as well. and he's training out of MMA factories. So, you hear a bunch of Badeau's training with Tsarukyan and whatnot. I don't see much evidence of that, honestly, on Instagram. So that's another thing to think about. But I don't think that really matters. This one really comes down to me thinking that Parisian is terrible. I bet Chad Johnson against him on the Contender Series, and I honestly was happy with that bet. Even after the outcome, Chad Johnson's also crap, and he got finished. It was Parisian threw him on the ground and just just hit him till he gave up. But up until then, Chad Johnson was kind of winning. So I've never thought high of Parisian. His best performance up to date, in my opinion, was against Parker Porter, the greatest of all time. So it's very impressive. But
we don't use that name around here.
But Dell also almost beat Parker Porter, the greatest of all time. So you got to even it out. And realistically, I just think that Bautista is actually a good striker. I think he actually has a lot of power. I don't think he's ever going to be a contender, but I think that he can easily be, outer rim UFC fighter who's going to be around for a long time. I don't see any reason to cut him. I think he's going to improve, even though he's 34. Heavyweights usually can go at least into their 40s. And I think the striking, he's better than quite a few of the lower level heavyweights. So I think a KO is live here. I'm tempted to bet the KO because I'm on Bautista, and I'm concerned that if we go to decision, he's going to lose. So I don't know. It's going to be greasy and disgusting. So whatever you bet it small. But what are you thinking, Lou?
I was just going to say pass and then cut my access to the stream. That was going to be my exit from this program. This fight has drive me to retirement. I'm not betting it. So I'm telling you right now, there will be no bet. There's no prop. We may not even talk about this on the Thursday show. I may just bypass this fight completely. Here's what I'm going to say. The look of Parisian getting crucifixed and just getting his ass kicked last fight by Dontal Mays is worse than anything that happened to Bautista. And that's even including the Nascimento fight. Because Bautista has shown flashes of the first round against Nascimento, he looked all right.
He's winning.
He looked. I mean, Nascimento is not very good, but Bautista looked all right. Here's the thing that that I'm not going to be able to escape and makes me lean Bautista is he wasn't horrible on the ground against Porter. He's not a world-class wrestler. Let me just get that way. But he actually he had some success against the ground against Porter, and Porter's not bad on the ground. And Bautista was all right. And Bautista's cardio held up too, which I thought Bautista was all right in the third round. I was surprised. I thought he was the fresher fighter. So could Bautista get on top of him? And again, I have the image in my head of Parisian. I mean, that was 6 months ago. We're talking about these knockouts, whatever. But that was a knockout that they probably stopped 2 minutes too late. I mean, Mays was teeing off on him for a long time. You know who the ref was, right?
No, I don't remember. Was it Dean?
Of course, just let him get killed.
Who was he? Oh, the Court McGee fight this last weekend. You saw it. It was just a classic
100
game.
yards.
Classic.
So I guess I lean Bautista. Also, Black Samurai, pretty badass nickname. But no bet. No, I got a principle, no bet.
All right.
But this one I have a stronger feeling on.
This one is fun. All right. Yeah. I wanted to bet Magny so badly here. All right. So we had Neil Magny versus Shavkat Rakhmonov, one of the hottest prospects in welterweight right now. Neil Magny is 26, 8-0, 34 years old, 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. And I do believe he's still at elevation over there with Trevor Whitman and the squad. And then on the other side, Rakhmonov is 15-0, 27 years old, 6 feet 1 inches tall. So he's giving up 2 inches in height, 77-inch reach. He's giving up 3 inches in reach. And he's at Sanford MMA, which I think is really interesting. I didn't know that before until literally yesterday. So I think that's a good look. That's literally my favorite camp. If you watched my show before, you already know that. And like I mentioned, I went into this wanting to bet Magny. I felt that minus 400 is wide. To this day, I still don't think that Shavkat is. I know a lot of people are saying he's the low key guy to compare to Hamza. Everybody's hype about Hamza, but how about Shavkat? I don't see it as much as others. I think that he might find some issues with the higher level welterweights. I'd love to see Gilbert Burns versus him if he wins this fight, but I just don't see how Magny could win once I watch the tape. Magny's striking is like, it's all so wide and so winging. Everything's so loopy. Shavkat's just going to go 1-2 down the pipe. He's going to catch him. If Shavkat wants to wrestle, he's going to get it. Shavkat has given up time against the fence, mostly against Alex Oliveira. But like, A, it was his debut. And B, like, he was just calm, cool, and collected the entire time. It's not like he was like panicking trying to get off the fence. When Shavkat wants something, he gets it done. His wrestling is really good. His grappling is really good. His striking, I wouldn't call it really good. I would call it just good for now. But I think it's better than Magny's. And I just struggle to see how Magny wins outside maybe Shavkat having a rough day or a rough cut maybe, and Magny just putting on the pressure, giving him something he's never seen, and winning a decision. I don't think that's impossible, but I do really think Shavkat wins. How about you, Lou?
I mean, this is Shavkat by whatever the fuck he wants, and I think I just want to add to your point here. Shavkat, you hadn't even mentioned anything about him with the grappling, but like, we know Magny is going to go and try to make it ugly, and he's going to try to get it against the cage and be a grindy affair. Rakhmonov doesn't need range to win this fight, and that's what's so dangerous about him. He could just trip him. He can get a trip when Magny's trying to bully him. This thing hits the ground. Magny might be in a choke before he knows what happened. All the tape on Shavkat, the guy is so explosive. Like, people are talking about like Khamzat and like, I get like, look, man, of course, that's very hard not to like Chimaev, but man, Rakhmonov is so diverse with the shit he can do. Like, and I think this is just a coming out party. His in the distance is -150, and I'm all over it. And I was talking about this yesterday with a buddy of mine who's like thinking about taking the poke on Magny. I'm like, okay, analysis aside, would you rather, because Magny's winning by decision, with death taxes and Magny decision, we know. Let me ask you a question. If you have a Magny bet, would you rather take Rakhmonov and just root for like an absolute annihilation, or do you want to have your butt cheeks clenched for 15 minutes, hoping that Magny like doesn't get hit by this monster? Like, no way, dude. Like, and again, it's not like Shavkat's not one-dimensional. It doesn't have to come on the feet. Like, now, I should make it known that I bet Carlston Harris last time against Shavkat because I think Carlston Harris is underrated. I thought the price was wrong, but the way Carlston Harris matched up to Shavkat, I like way better than this matchup. I don't think because Carlston Harris posed a danger to Shavkat on the feet and on the ground. Like, he's very underrated. I mean, look, Shavkat rolled him. Like, I get it. Ends up being a bad bet. But Magny, I don't know what threat Magny has here to stop. Like, Harris could have hit him a few times early and maybe gotten some respect. He just never got to that point. I don't know what Magny can do here to really get Shavkat's respect to keep him from being aggressive. So
only pressure, really.
I'm not going to play a round prop here because Magny is a good vet savvy guy, and maybe it takes a few minutes for Shavkat to get rolling. And if you look at Shavkat's tape, he's not a round one murderer. He's all over the place with his finishes. So I don't like the round prop angle. When you and I talk about it later in the week, like, there's a couple other plays that like maybe are kind of interesting, but I just think in the distance at -155, I never really like in the distance in a non-heavyweight fight at a minus number. I never love it. I'm willing to make an exception here.
It's -150 now. Nice. I got it at -130, which is pretty lit. But if
I looked at it, this is what I looked at last night. So in the distance,
I just checked. I think it is 150. But yeah, I mean, you just mentioned that Shavkat doesn't get a lot, like that he doesn't necessarily finish quick. But I actually checked it out yesterday. Never been to decision. Only been to round 3 one time. So he's actually always finishing in round 1 or 2, which is pretty crazy to me and makes me really, 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 really want to bet Neil Magny round 3. I probably won't because I need to behave. And I didn't bet Duran win round 3 because I knew I had to behave and it just wouldn't hit. So it'll probably be
by the way,
I
wasn't super impressed with Magny last fight either.
Yeah, neither was I.
I wasn't super impressed. I mean,
I feel like the one thing that Shavkat might struggle with is the pressure and like having to keep working off the fence. But I really do think he'll be fine. So let's move on to this banger over here.
Hit that like and subscribe, guys. You sons of bitches.
Yes, sir. So here we got Arman Tsarukyan versus Mateusz Gamrot. Tsarukyan is 18-2-0, 25 years old, which is crazy. 5'7" with a 72.5-inch reach. And I think he's at Extreme Couture right now, which is an interesting one.
He is. And
then Gamrot is 21-0, 31 years old, 5'10".
21-0.
Oh my goodness. 21-0.
So you're giving him the Guram fight?
No. 20-1-0.
He's 20-1, dude. Stop.
And he's 31, 5'10" with a 70.5-inch reach, training at an ATT. Which is interesting because they both were there, but I was listening to the James Lynch interview for Tsarukyan, and they have not trained together. So that's worth mentioning. And this one's crazy interesting. You keep hearing about that one guy on Twitter who said that this is a bad main event. And
now he's been run off Twitter.
That's ridiculous.
And by the way, in all fairness, he didn't say it was a bad main event. He said, I know what he was trying to say. He just said it horribly. He was basically appealing to to get casuals to the sport. Is this the worst name value main event? But
no.
But he didn't. But I'm like, didn't Holly Holm just fight Ketlin Vieira?
How about even Chris Dawkins and Curtis Blades? Is that really that much more name value?
I know what the point he was trying to make was. His biggest mistake is when people told him he was an idiot and he just doubled down. And instead of being no, I don't mean it like that. I'm trying to explain. Again, I think I know what he was trying to do. It was just terrible wording. And then, it became well, now I got to be Twitter tough guy. So no, this is probably going to be one of the better main events we're going to get all year. In terms of, and I think it's going to be better than last week's main event for reasons.
Honestly, I agree. I'm super hyped. I've been a Tsarukyan guy since day one. When I saw that fight with Islam, I was like, I love this guy. And then since then, he's only shown nothing but good things. He beat up OAM, fair and square. And now look at him. He's doing great in PFL. He beat Davi Ramos, which is a great look when you're trying to assess him against grapplers. He beat Yoel Alvarez, obviously. He beat Giagos. He's been looking really good. He's been getting his KOs. He's been getting his finishes finally. For me, I'm a huge Arman guy, like I just mentioned. But when I saw the odds, I came back from this trip from Austin. I looked at the odds. I was like, I think I'm going to take Gamrot. And then I watched it, and I was like, nah, I'll stick with my guy. For me, it really comes down to this. I thought Gamrot was going to be better on the feet than he was based off my memory. He's actually not – I wouldn't call him elite on the feet. He's just good. Whereas I think Tsarukyan's slowly becoming really, really good on the feet. And then in the grappling, I can't tell who's better. I really can't. Tsarukyan's been nothing but dominant. He had great grappling exchanges with Islam. He made Islam work. I'm pretty sure he took Islam down. But Gamrot's also been ridiculous. Against Carlos Diego Ferreira, the exchanges there were so slick. All of the scrambles were so good. And Gamrot was able to compete and keep going and eventually, break his rib or whatever he ended up doing. So this fight's super close, and I'm not comfortable going too heavy either way. But I am on Arman. I think overall he's better everywhere. Gamrot does have this going for him. He's fought 5 rounds before. He was a champ in KSW. Arman has not had a 5-rounder before. But you listen to his interviews, and he's been talking about, I know this is going to be 5 rounds. I'm preparing. I'm ready. So I think he's got this. I just think the odds are not a little. I think the odds are very wide. I think the original opening, minus 140, that's where it should be. But I'm on Arman. How about you, Lou?
I think the odds are perfect.
Yeah.
After research. So, but no, I same as you. My initial reaction was wow, this line is wide. And the line was wide for the Alvarez fight too. And I was like, dude, that was a big people hopping that dog I didn't take the bait. I thought about it all week, and I'm like, man.
I hammered Arman.
But I didn't take the bait on Alvarez. But I had Arman in the distance. Now, I did not think it was coming the way it did, because that was just an absolute destruction. I want to talk about something you mentioned when you're talking about the grappling, who has the edge. I don't know that one has an edge, but there's a big difference here. I feel like Gamrot is the faster, like the quicker, like transition grappler, whereas Tsarukyan is, I think, stronger and more technically sound. Like, it's a matter of if whoever's on top, I don't think the person on the bottom gets a reversal. I think they're both really good offensive wrestlers, and I think Tsarukyan seems like he has better fundamentals. I mean, look, man, it's like 1 and 1A here. Like, they're both very good. Here's where I find this to be, like, this is the big point for me. Tsarukyan's competition. I mean, so you want about Alvarez, like, being like an internet darling, but the dude's legit. You know, the Makachev loss is like competitive loss, and his debut is amazing.
And he wants him again.
And I'll tell you, well, there's going to be a day where that happens, I believe. Like, for Vola, I mean, I'm kind of surprised he didn't put Vola away, but that's a pretty good win. The Davi Ramos win was excellent. He actually said that's his favorite fight that he's had. I think that's a great stylistic win. Now, you know what the last three guys that Gamrot that he beat have in common? 36, 37, 38. And then he had the split decision loss against Guram, which I won't argue it either way. I thought Gamrot won, but again, it's not like it wasn't a huge robbery.
I thought he won on first watch, not on second.
Yeah, that fights like that aren't a robbery. I mean, like, just. But anyway,
I know you had money on Demir. Did you think Demir beat Guram though when you watched it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I thought but I thought he won 29-28. I thought the 30-27 was.
Oh yeah, I think everybody agrees there.
I think he got stronger as the fight went on. But anyway, I had real low exposure to that one. I didn't really want to get involved. I did like the price on Demir, but anyway. So this makes it tricky for me. Like, you look at Gamrot's skills, and it's like, yeah, he like fucked up Jeremy Stevens, but like Jeremy Stevens sucks at this point in his career. Like, legend, sure, but like, when's Jeremy Stevens been decent? Like, so, like, the best he looked is when he, like, you know, pushed Drakkar close. It's like the best moment Stevens had in like 5 years.
Went to war with Clay Howard.
So Gamrot's he's beaten guys in the twilights of their career. He's getting finishes, but he's beaten guys in the twilight of his career. So it makes it harder to evaluate, like, because it's like he should be doing that. Whereas Tsarukyan is going in and looking like a tank against like legit dudes that are really good at one. Like Davi Ramos, I can't stress enough that's a solid win for him at his stage in his career. So strength of schedule favors him. I think the power favors him, but close. And I think the offensive wrestling favors Tsarukyan, but also I would say it's close. Now, I'm on the Tsarukyan side. I am going to have a prop on the round 3, round 4 finish for him. I just think it's a matter of time, but I can see this being like, what I'm curious about also is this fight doesn't go the distance. It's sitting at minus 130 something. So I want to give you guys a wheezy stat, if I may, share a little probability with you. I'm going to forget the exact number. I know the percentage, but I don't know these. I think there's been 55 fights at main events, 5-round fights at 155 in the last 10 years. And 41 of them have finished inside the distance. So it's 72% of all these fights have not gone the distance. Now, every fight's different, and I understand that. But I think with how competitive this division is, I think 150, we can agree that 155 is probably the best division they have.
The closest is 135, and I think 155 is still better.
I think 155 has like...
You have literally guys like Joe Selecki and Alex De Silva unranked.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have 10, 11 guys that I could see fighting for a title in like the next 2 years. So I think that because of that, you have to make statements. This is a division where decision wins don't get you title shots. You have to make statement wins. And I think if you didn't believe in Arman before this fight, people are going to come around on him and be like, he just dominated. Don't you hate that this is a fight right now?
Yeah,
As a fan, obviously it's awesome. It's awesome that we're getting this. I just don't like that one guy has to take a step back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just feel like, at least since I'm an Arman fan, if he wins this, there's going to be a serious argument for him to be in the title picture, at least after one or two more fights. So,
I would argue, I would agree with that.
So in that case, I'm hype about that. But yeah, honestly, I played Arman by decision as a little half unit sprinkle, because I'm thinking Arman's calling for a round 4 finish, which makes me want to at least bet it a little bit. But you know how these guys are. They got to be cocky, otherwise they wouldn't be here. I just feel like Gamrot is super legit. So I think Arman wins, but I think he's probably going to have to win by decision. It's really hard for me to see a finish, like a KO.
Can I add something to the betting here for the peoples?
Hit it.
This is a good, depending on how your nights go and how many parlays you have in play. When I like lines like this, because you are going to get a very nice hedge out spot. If you do feel like, if you get to this point in the card, I don't know how much steam Gamrot's going to get throughout the week. It's kind of hard to say. I don't know. If his line hasn't moved significantly at this number already, I don't know what it's going to take for people to start buying back on him. But anything over plus 200 always becomes a really good hedge out spot. So I'm just putting it out there, depending on how your night's going, if your whole night is riding on Arman, as much as we're telling you, we love this guy, still a fight, still a close fight, still a line that I said is accurate, but it is on the higher. It's close to the higher side. I'm just saying the hedge out here, depending on what your life goals are with gambling. Take a look at that.
I'm not one of these guys who says shame on hedging. I hedge all the time. I don't hedge out, but I hedge my bets. You know that.
Well, guys that say that are guys that aren't profitable. Look, I don't love hedging bets, because if I have the belief in a certain play, I'd like to see it through. However, if you're talking about Arman winning pays me $5,000 in a parlay, I'm taking every penny I have and hedging out. And you have to. Why wouldn't you make sure you can get, especially when you get to hedge betting an underdog, to win 2,500, you'd have to bet 1,200 on Gamrot, or whatever. I forget how. I was told there would be no math on this show, so I'm sorry if my brain's
no math.
But the point is why not guarantee yourself thousands of dollars and then remove the bananas? And you don't even have to do a full hedge. You could do a partial hedge. I
never full hedge. I only partial.
Look, man, I've been in situations where I had a 5-figure parlay riding on one game, and and I actually got the rare situation of, it was college football, but I had the rare situation where the line had moved 3.5 points. So I had the chance at both. I had a middle that could have hit both. And these son of a bitches missed a field goal at 3 minutes left. That would have probably given me the middle, but I'm still happy. I'm happy with the result. But the point being, it depends on where you are in your life in terms of if the parlay is going to pay $150 at the end of the night and you make $200,000 a year, no, don't hedge. That's stupid. But how bad do you need the money? Just don't be so confident in your pick when you can guarantee yourself walking out of there with a nice little night.
People don't do that enough. Not a race, man.
I'm not saying do it every time. It's situation by situation, but if you have a 12-fight parlay and you're 11 for 11, I'm hedged. You have to.
Yeah, to be honest, sorry, Luke, continue.
No, I was gonna say, I don't know what our average age range is, but people have kids, people have wives, some people don't, but some people need the money more, some people have debt. There's a lot of different reasons where you want money. And the thing is if you're drinking throughout the night, sometimes you may not make great decisions. Just, you have to be cognizant, you have a guarantee to walk away with a nice hit for the night. You take it and you move on to the next week. There's fights every week, man. Next week's another opportunity. We got fights till the end of August, every weekend. Plus, we got the Contender Series coming up for the next 10 weeks. Plenty of spots.
It's going to be a banger season.
I'm just saying, plenty of spots coming up. You don't have to squeeze every every grape. Like just take profit. That's all.
But all right. So that's the card. We just went through it pretty quick, only an hour and a half, a bit over. Me and Lou agreed a bit more than usual, but that's always good.
I'll change my picks for Thursday.
Make sure we disagree a bit more.
Maybe we'll disagree on the props. I'm sure we'll disagree on like the props.
For sure. We always do. But going off that, so tomorrow I'm going to do my fantasy show as usual. You guys already know. Breakdown, DraftKings, not really. Mostly prize picks, monkey knife fights, and underdog fantasy. And then I got it, Lou. Thursdays at 6. We got the Bet Elevator on MMA Engine with me and Lou. Best show. It's my favorite one. Different than all the other gambling ones over the week for MMA. We do the fun stuff. We go over the big shot props. And you know what? We don't just say them. We actually hit them. Just hit Kevin Holland by sub. Patrick, who's just a guest on the show, hit Buckley KO round 2. So we're not just out here just
he should have.
No, he did. They changed it.
They made it round 2 now and not round 2.
Yeah, because I had round 3 and then they took it from me and they gave it to guys like Pat.
It should have been,
which is right.
Yeah, I don't. They are so that was like a what's going on with this.
Yeah, when I heard that even happened, I was there live. I was like, what do you mean they didn't start round 3? So
I'd have cashed that shit out. I'd have cashed it out immediately. I'm like, fuck you guys, man.
But all right, so yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Lou,
am I allowed to say
where to find you?
Yeah, I was gonna say, hey, I got a voice here too. Follow me on Twitter at Lou Betcha. He just told me about the Thursday show. I'm doing a show tomorrow on Chronic Combat with my usual Friday co-host Monk. We're gonna DP them with profits, and sorry, I guess it's a family program. Nah, it's 10:30. You guys can look up what that means. Friday, 5:30 Eastern is the Monk and Lou happy hour. He covers DFS. I do kind of my last bets. If you hear me throughout the week, I mean, just pop in. Last week I was like a maniac out of hand. I will say that Monk and I are a shitload of fun, more than like even a serious betting show. And then Saturday with Michael, he didn't mention this, but I imagine you're on it again. We typically do the John Kelly show.
I don't like to assume. I don't like to assume things.
We do the best bets panel on John Kelly's show. So that's where I'm at. And MMA Engine, please subscribe to that channel for all your updates. If I can actually have like 3 uninterrupted days, maybe I could push phase 1 of the product out, but I feel like I can't at this point with life. So
it's worth
that's what I got.
Wait, guys. It's worth the wait. Lou's killing it behind the scenes. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys throughout the week and have a good night.